Sorry, wrong channel. Good day peeps and welcome to 10 de-stressing games to get you through the Christmas times. And in case you can't tell, then I know this video is pretty much straight up ripped off of Valkyrie Aurora's recent video, but I really do like her reasoning for making it. Just because it's Christmas doesn't mean everybody's automatically happy. For a lot of people, then the holiday season might actually do nothing but pile more tension or trouble onto an already stressful situation. Like those who live far away and have to schedule trips just to be with their family on Christmas Eve, or those who don't even have the time or even want to go through the yearly festive routine. It can be hard, and many have no choice but to tough through with it. So I wanted to contribute with my own 10 games. Games that can hopefully make life at least a little easier around this stressful time. And while I don't have Valkyrie Aurora's comforting and relaxing Swedish accent to commentate with, then I'm actually one of the people doing exams at the moment, which means I've had the opportunity to try out just how effective each of these games are at removing stress and calming you down after a tough day. Unlike Valkyrie's list though, then I won't be listing them after how relaxing or, for lack of a better word, brainless they are, but after how helpful I thought they were, number 1 being the most helpful. But without further ado, then let's start with the first recommendation, which is actually a co-op game, Trine. I couldn't pick between Trine or Trine 2 since they're both very lovely games, both lacking in anything you could call a serious plot and are so fantasy saturated and colorful and sweet that I can almost feel my teeth rotting away. Pretty perfect game for relaxing, de-stressing and simply having a good, innocent and fun time. The reason that this isn't higher on the list is primarily because it's co-op. And while the co-op mechanic and the characters' different skills to solve puzzles is exactly what makes this game fun and simultaneously silly and stupid, then it's not exactly everybody who has time to play in a gaming session with friends, let alone another person who also has the game. The second game is a lot less colorful, a lot more confusing, and a lot more art-like, yes, it's that type of confusing, than any other game on the list. Kentucky Route Zero is a bit hard to place when it comes to mechanics. It's kinda like a half point and click and half visual novel, a bit of walking here, a lot of reading there, and not a lot of puzzles or stuff to do. But if you have the patience and can accept that some things happen without explanation, then in all the confusion there exists a very relaxing and pretty emotional cross-country setting story about how people's paths cross, how they meet, how they stick together for a while, and how eventually their lives move on. The third game is the only game that also appears on Valkyrie's list since I wanted to add to the list more than copy it, but I found it hard not to mention this one. Celeste is a beautiful story about getting over your problems, accepting who you are and what you feel, and the journey to do so. The game shows this progression and these conflicts both in story and gameplay, meaning Celeste isn't just a lean back experience. It can get, for some, controller crushingly difficult. So if you already have a bad day, then I recommend sitting down with the first few chapters of this game. They're adorable and more story heavy than the other chapters. But don't play anymore if you want to relax. Save those chapters for a day where you've got a little more patience on hand, and you feel more up and ready for the tough challenge. For my fourth recommendation, we got the newer indie title, Wondersong. If you're looking for something stupidly innocent, and something stupidly colorful, something that feels like it was born for the Switch console, then I highly recommend this game. Wondersong is completely wholesome, and has that typical hero saves the world type story setting, but as you get further and further into it, then you'll find some surprisingly good and relatable characters and an almost inspiring and emotional story twist that'll leave your heart full after the ending. Though it does feature dabbing, in case you wondered why it wasn't higher on the list. On number 5, we got the adorable, round, splooshy, plushy, and disgustingly cutesy Slime Rancher. It's a fun farming game where all you do is pretty much collect and feed colorful pets to grow and expand your farm, and discover the colorful world's secrets. Though there is no exact story or main objective in this game except for a kind of ending, so as a player you do eventually reach that moment where you think, wait, what's the point of all this? And it stopped being as relaxing when you realize you're only playing it because it's an addiction. But don't worry, it'll usually take hours and hours of ranching, poop collecting, and slime killing before you reach that point. As my 6th recommendation, then we've got a bit of an odd one, which is Hyperlight Drifter. A game that actually takes more than a few brain cells to beat, as I'll be the first to admit that I've yelled out loud at the screen at least twice while playing it. But the reason that it's on this list is because it's so relaxing. It's got an almost zen feeling to the whole world and atmosphere, with the impressionist music, colorful visuals, and tight gameplay. It's kinda like a less dreary and more lean back and explore version of Dark Souls, something that I personally can really appreciate coming home to after a long work day. For my 7th and 8th recommendation, I got 2 games that I couldn't really choose between, because they both kinda had the same effect on me: Glass Masquerade and Limelight. These are pretty much the type of games you'd find if you were to search relaxing video games on Google. They're games that make you feel like a brain in a jar, where you can kinda just plug in and let your brain puzzle around without really thinking. Glass Masquerade is basically just a fancy jigsaw puzzle with rewardingly pretty visuals theming an old stained glass art, one where you can almost feel yourself slipping away while playing it. Limelight is a little more complicated and a little more expensive to my knowledge, but with some cool minimalistic puzzles that never got overwhelming, and with music to fit the simple beauty of it. Both games that I could almost categorize as meditation games, but still not the most effective stress relievers on the list. On number 9 we got Apsu. And no, I didn't just pick this one because Valkyrie already picked Journey, but because not only can you pick up Apsu both on PC and console, but this game is also astoundingly beautiful in another way than Journey is. Where Journey has a barren landscape type of beauty, then Journey has a beauty in colorful contrast and attention to detail. The makers of this game love scuba diving and wanted to recreate that feeling, and I think they were very successful in making the ocean always seem so busy and full of life. So while Apsu does have its stressful moments, then if you like emotional peaks of wonder, curiosity and scent that will give you goosebumps like no other, then Apsu's the game for you. Having that said, then let's move on to my number 1 most de-stressing game of all time, and one that I continuously find myself returning to even today. VA11 Hall A Cyberpunk Bartending Action. A game which, despite having such a long and complicated name, is a quite simple visual novel, though it does have some quite interesting quirks and oddities to it. The game is set in a dark dystopian cyberpunk future, where terrorist attacks, gunshots and riots are common, white soldiers armed to the teeth wander the streets, and assassins and prostituting robots are a common concept. Though you're not really a part of any of this. Your role is as the average working citizen Jill, who's a night shift working bartender, a personal stranger as the game puts it, that enjoys listening to people vent their problems and frustrations or sharing crazy tales of the world outside the bar over a nice, cold drink. That's it. Making your regular customer a drink is the only real interaction you can make as a player, except for a few mini games and deciding what to buy for your house, which is mostly just decoratives. Yet these decisions really do feel like they matter. You start caring about your customers, how they feel and how they feel when they leave the bar, and what will happen to them when they return to everyday life. As you're given an order and you start crafting the cocktail, then you are often given the opportunity to give people what you think they need instead of what they think they want. And the game will almost always reward you for being risky and going with your better judgment instead of following every order. This is one of the things that make Valhalla such an immersive experience. It becomes much easier to put yourself in the shoes of Jill, the nighttime bartender, than the one destined hero who will save the world. And because of this, you really feel like you left your own stressful workday for an hour or two when you play this game. Which is why it was so distressing for me, and really makes me wish that visual novels had more replayability just so I could keep coming back to this one every time I had a bad day. But anyway, I hope this video helped inspire you to pick up a game that could bring you some happiness, even if everything else might seem kinda grey and bleak at the moment. Of course, then every player is different, so if you find a game elsewhere that's more to your liking, then I won't stop you. Just noting that this personal list is what helped me get through stressful exam times, so take from that what you want. Of course, I want to leave off this video thanking Valkyrie Aurora, in case you still didn't quite catch that I practically stole this idea from her. She's got another top 10, all with different relaxing games that I haven't mentioned, or well, maybe except for Celeste, but I hope you'll check her out in the link below. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember, it's okay to spoil yourself from time to time, especially if you're more pressured than usual, and that you can't buy good mental health for Christmas. Thank you again, and happy holidays. Peace.